Ssemuju Nganda ayongedde okwonoona ebigambo anti abanene bobadde tosuubira ku ludda oluvuganya oba oluwabula gavumenti ya Mwai Museveni nga bano basasulwa balya ssente za Mwai Museveni ayongedde okubyasa, ayongedde okuleeta omuwendo, ayongedde okuggyayo abanene bobadde tosuubira bobadde tumanyi nga bali ku ludda oluvuganya bagamba balwana kuggyayo Mwai Museveni mu ntebe naye ng'ate bali ku nsimbi ze yabasasula okuvuganya n'okwongera okulwanyisa Kyagulanyi Ssentamu Robert Bobi Wine. Bigambo bya Ssemuju Nganda agamba ekibiina kya FDC kyo kiri mu lusuubo kunaaba kusaba nnyo kunaaba kulwana kunaaba kuwadawada okulaba nga kiddamu omuzinzi naye nti Mwai Museveni kyo yakyetoolola dda era abanene abakikulira bonna yabasasula dda sasula omusimbi era baava dda ku mulamwa kati batambulira ku ntoli za Mwami Museveni nti kyabagamba okukola kye bakola nti kyova olaba ennaku eziwedde nnyingi emabega okuva Kyagulanyi Ssentamu Robert Bobi Wine lwe yaboebwa lwe yajja mu nsiike y'ebyobukulembeze mu ggwanga Uganda bangi batandika okumulwana nti bangi baweebwa omulimo gwa kumuvuma gwa kumukkakkanya gwa kumulemesa kwata bukulembeze bwa ggwanga Uganda naye nga basinziira mu kibiina ate kya Forum for Democratic Change kinabo bulijjo beebuuza abantu bano lwaki balemera ku Kyagulanyi yabakola ki musango ky'omunene gwe yabakola naye bagenda okuzuula okunoonyereza nga waliwo ensimbi eziyitiŋŋana kati nno mu kibiina kya FDC wanga gy'obadde obirowooza yokka okuba n'embalala bobadde tosuubira kuba nti nno bali mu kulya nsimbi okusobola okulwana Kyagulanyi Ssentamu Robert Bobi Wine Ssemuju Nganda ebigambo byasizza kati tulakkalira setolinga wansi kalira wuliriza Ssemuju Nganda abikugambe kubanga eno conversation eya leero eyokya yakulabisa anti yasazeewo okulabisa buli agezaako okwekweka nga amulabisa omulimu yagwewadde Ssemuju Nganda.
So that's why now I think Agulilira has completed the transformation from someone elected to lead the FDC into the sidekick of Nganda. So he says Uganda abuse Ssemuju, he goes around him because I think Nganda is the one who he lives on Ngandara's handouts, unfortunately. So that's where we are. And I'm saying these things.
And then the other one you said that President Muriat.
You are taking
had,
it fast.
No.
I was explaining. The first question was.
Now we move to the second
meeting,
question.
how did all these things come to
be? In between, you said just one thing. Yes. In between, you said that POA, which is President Muriat, had seen that there might be a split. What made him see that? I was just going backward.
This is an internal meeting.
Right.
When he came to the National Executive Committee, by the way, we stayed these elections for 1 month. They're supposed to have started long ago. But when he came and we told him, what about this report investigating you? Then he said, these elections must go on. That we don't want them to be there because they know we're headed for a split. Some of the things are internal there. I don't want to be as bad as Nana. So, and I will leave them. I will give you broader.
Now there's actually no difference between the two of you.
In your mind, yes.
A huge difference.
In your mind, of follow.
So
and
now
I
on
want
to
me even to look like what's that?
So on to the Monday meeting.
Yes. So we said the parliamentary team which I head, I am the FDC whip in Parliament, should also try to meet these two guys to see if these matters can be internally handled. And we proposed other people, senior people can also help. They made sure all that doesn't happen because you had said stay election until this is done. All they did is tell no elections that are going on, you can go and hang. In fact, even without election taking place for them in the county, because they have already doctored the list of delegates conference. That's why they were taking deadlines today, village. Whether they are there or not, that's what they will be waving in post faces. Well, no, we called the election, it didn't come. So we said, guys, because we knew that this money issues is being handled and it is not being concluded, and the motive of the money is known. You don't get Museveni's money. Museveni is not very generous. That he was just electing a limping party. Said, you guys, we can be loaded and taken to Museveni quietly. We need now to sound an alarm. So the meeting on Monday was to sound an alarm, but also in a position where I am. not every FDC leader and member has the same information that I do. And I thought the one that is not very damaging, I will pass out on demand. And I did, by the way, constrained myself. Even today, Oscar, I constrained myself. Maybe often I think I am myself, I am not. There are things that I think I have grown. I am going to be 50 this year. If I said everything that is there, those people will not even be on any street walking. But I want to restrict myself to the issues of the FDC. That's why I don't want to go and speak about their money. No, that's diversion. I want to restrict myself to the issues that have brought us where we are. As I speak to you now, without elections taking place, they are saying village elections finished. Nandara on 6 June writes a letter after training supervisors who are going to handle district elections, that as you go for this exercise, the elections, we will send you books to register. I also send you computers to generate a voters register, which you will bring at the headquarters after the exercise. Can you imagine? Ridiculous that you are generating a voters register when the process is underway. That's why I said, you see, even Museveni cheats better. He will have registration, display voters register, issue voters card, then he can proceed to cheat. How do you begin with cheating? You cheat later when there is a process. People may not understand, but these ones, no, the process, actually, the process that is supposed to end with the list of delegates conference is going to happen when the list is there, because you have a public that you want to dupe, to make it believe that actually. So these are the matters that are troubling us. Okay. When we raise these matters, they identify the people to hit, so this process of holding them accountable can stop. And that's why I become the same. Yet if you are observant, at in Zambia, out of 146 FDC chairpersons, we had 118. We had 10 members of parliament and several other people. But they said, no, Ssemuju is the one who is causing us problems. Hit him, hit Lukwago, hit PSG, then these ones will cowardize. Because Nanda likes violence, that guy. I don't know how he grew up. He likes violence.
He has said you're a habitual liar. And
yes, I leave that to the public to judge
and
me.
doesn't wear long shirts.
I leave that to the public to judge me. Because on the matters, can you imagine someone saying Ssemuju had a billboard of 1 billion? Maybe it was in gold. Because the ordinary billboards, if you ask Capital Radio, they have done them. I know even before no. But in his job, he may have done some billboards. And in Chile, they are cheaper. If you got 1 billion shilling, you can rent a billboard. Say, Lukwago had another one. I mean, why do you lie? We are not perfect. There are things that are genuine you can say about us, and we will feel sorry about them if they have happened. But why do you lie? Why? And you want to lead the country. We are struggling with Museveni, and then another 6 to replace Museveni. Can you imagine?
O has been warning us about opposition members that they'll be worse.
Not all of them. Not all of them. Yeah, not all of them. Like not all of NRM.
So I'm going to move to Hono here. The issues have been Museveni money, as you label it.
That's the center.
That is the center.
Yes.
And that it was supposed to be support
How much
elections.
is this money? 1.5 billion.
No.
Oh. Some people have said it is 7 billion.
It is not 7.
It's how
You
much?
see, you don't know the panic that money caused. That's how they went to USG. Can you help us keep some? They can come for it. They were fidgeting,
How much is it?
looking for where to hide it. And they, you see, because if
I
you
have
go to school,
Joseph
there are things
Sabiti,
that you
a journalist.
can-
Maybe
you
he
can-
knows
you
the
can
amount.
explain.
Let's go to Hono.
No,
You
The
know,
we
budget,
need to know
the
the
budget
amount.
submitted to Museveni was 157 billion shillings.
Wow.
And Museveni said, I am going to give it to you in bits. Because I said I don't have all of it now, but I'll give it to you in bits. And the bits came. I don't know eventually whether all one.
so they were speaking to each other.
157 billion.
I want to leave it at that. I said, don't provoke me to say things that I had said I would not reveal.
Let's go to.
You didn't eat on your bits money.
When I was looking for guests, I kept telling Patricia, I need someone on Mafabi side saying that Mafabi
You have Gogo here.
and Amriat have gone to the barrio, and they all said, we have gone north. You know, when you asked me who is the guest, I kept telling you they have all gone north there. Then I said to you, oh, you may have to be on Mafabi's side. So
No, I don't have to do
is that a compliment?
You're trying to do what
I don't have to do anything. I just want to declare my interest. Both Ssemuju and my father, Nganda, the two members of parliament, are my very good friends. Nganda will go back a little, not the same as my brother Abulu, but Nganda is in between, and then Ssemuju. And we work very well. I'm one of those, by the way, who deal with in the NRM, who deal with the members and leaders of the opposition. I don't think there's...
Who carry bags?
No, I don't think there's any member of the opposition who, particularly the leaders, who I don't stick to, who I can't drink tea with. No. Now,
for me, I have to think twice.
the issue of...
You don't want 157 billion.
the issue of the ongoing rankers in the FDC. 2 months ago, exactly 60 days ago, on a Saturday like this, I published an article where I said the FDC had fallen. Perhaps it's time to write its obituary. At that time, my brother here said the media was too hard. Then I threatened him, you remember, on our platform. I said I'm going to write another follow-up. Don't cry for Abudu. I wanted to make a follow-up article.
Maya Argentina.
FDC don't cry for Abudu Katuntu. Because I thought Abudu Katuntu had now escaped the falling debris. And I think my brother, I congratulate you for being a giraffe. You fought so and jumped in the debris. Now, this thing has been going on in FDC.
Does he deserve?
He didn't jump ship. I think he foresaw that there were going to be debris falling and hard debris, and it's going to rain for a long time, these debris. Now, how was FDC built from the reform agenda? There were genuine issues with the movement at the time. How the movement headed by President Museveni was being run. There are genuine issues there in about 1999-2000 that led to disagreement inside NRM. A few people from movement went and joined the old groups, UPC and DP. You remember when this came out, the people who gave him a mountain were actually the Cecilia Boys, the Okule Parks, and so on, and the people in DP. I think that culture of the old groups basically imbibed it, of false accusations, of sectarianism, and so on and so forth. And that has been the main way FDC has tried to drive their politics. Each time they disagreed with somebody, whether inside or outside, they must find a falsification line. Look at all the people who were in the FDC or reform agenda who are no longer active. What has made them go silent? Look at Zindana, Amanya Mishega, Kijuka, Garuga Musinguzi, who was at one time drive their politics. Each time they disagreed with somebody, whether inside or outside, they must find a falsification line. Look at all the people who were in the FDC or reform agenda who are no longer active. What has made them go silent? Look at Zindana, Amanya Mishega, Kijuka, so forth. And that has been the main way FDC has tried to drive their politics. Each time they disagreed with somebody, whether inside or outside, they must find a falsification line. Look at all the people who were in the FDC or reform agenda who are no longer active. What has made them go silent? Look at Zeruzindana, Amanya Mishega, Kijuka, of false accusations of sectarianism and so on and so forth. And that has been the main way FDC has tried to drive their politics. Each time they disagree with somebody, whether inside or outside, they must find a falsification line. Look at all the people who were in the FDC or reform agenda who are no longer active. What has made them go silent? Look at Zeruzindana, Amanya Mishega, Kijuka, Garuga Musimbuzi, who was at one time reported to be their father in the reform agenda.
They have retired.
Is no longer active in the elective politics. You remember his was with us, with the movement, in the Kikizi, with the Honorable Mbawaz. Eventually they said Musimbuzi had been compromised by business money and blah, 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 and so on. Look at Atanasia Sultaro, look at Johnson Kuhe, and many, many others. Each time they have internal disagreement, those accusations came up. Either you are more, you have been compromised. You are not committed after all, even in the beginning. Look at my brother David Poole and Cole. You remember him? I don't think many people remember those stories. So it has been. So, and my brother Honorable Ssemuju, I think Ssemuju is now at his crescendo. You remember where one time Honorable Winnie Byanyima was, 97, 98, when what she said, whether it was false or not, it would be believed. You remember the censure in Parliament of Jim Muhezi and Sam Kutesa, and they go at Matthew Richkiri and so on. Many of those people were censured on many false allegations. You remember in that censure, they would bring they would bring a property, a value. They attach a value on your property, and they say this building is 2 billion shillings.
No, why were they censured?
No credible valuation, but they were believed. The John Kazora, I think Honorable Ssemuju is at that level now.
Not even when he tells a lie.
When he tells a lie.
So zero.
However, yeah. So,
are there some lies?
Yeah, so Ssemuju doesn't have to prove anything. For example, now when he says 150 billion, Ssemuju, 157, he has, nobody challenges him to say, table the evidence. Even the basic evidence. Maybe a photograph where they were taking the money, or where the negotiation, or a voucher, or something like that. Or a bank account where money went through, and so on and so forth. He doesn't have to. I think it's in that level. You remember the case of Gerard Karhanga in Parliament, where would you say, Amama Bawazi, Nasasera, the oil, the Omek, and so on. He doesn't have to prove. And our society, unfortunately, now is such that largely,
they just believe.
When somebody has in Ssemuju's position makes an allegation, they go with it. So even an attempt to hold Ssemuju to account, you are the one who is seen to be trying to dodge. And unfortunately, also now, if you look at Mandara, when you see Mandara generally is tongue-tied. His explanation, he can't explain things better. So even if he wants to explain, he may not be as articulate as Ssemuju. So Ssemuju takes that. Ssemuju is at the level of, you remember, Joe Raymond McCarthy, the senator in the U.S. Wisconsin, the communist witch hunt and so on. Ssemuju is at that level. So it will take some, and you remember, I've said on our platform, I said, Ssemuju is soon going to run past his home. Because he's going to make an allegation one of these days, like Abra Wari, and they will put him to strict proof. and then he will fail to
But
prove.
do I have the right to defend
No,
myself?
You
Can
will.
at least give some illustration of the thing that I'm saying that are false?
No.
Like
No,
one,
no,
one,
no.
it says the 150 billion. For
I'm
example.
saying, yeah.
But
you
you
tell
are
me
the guest to
evidence.
it.
Take
Oh,
on
the guest
evidence.
must take notes.
Yeah, take on the
Yeah,
evidence.
take notes. This must take notes.
I
But
think Honorable
there's
Ssemuju,
a
one of the days
validation.
is going to make an allegation, and somebody will put him
Take him to
strict
court.
proof. No,
But,
not to court even. Strict to proof, and he will fail, and I am afraid.
How about the 300 million? They seem to have an agreement about 300 million.
And
that they took to him.
none doesn't deny, by the way, and none of them.
So there's some validation
Yes,
in that one at
because
least.
first of all, there is the money which the government of Uganda gives political parties. And my recollection is that in the run-up to the 2021 election, that money was brought. I think it was 20 billion, thereabout. And at that time, FDC was the second leading party. That money is shared by political parties in parliament on the basis of the strength of the numerical strength of members of parliament. I think the NRM in that situation got something like 10 billion or 12 billion. At that time, FDC got maybe 7 billion.
No. If this got 1.8 billion.
And my calculation, but I'm saying the money was brought around that time. Now, it is possible that's part of the money, but it's also possible that political groups fundraise. In this country, we don't have a culture of full disclosure.
One of these days
No.
you will run past your home.
No, in this country,
Let me switch off your microphone.
in this country, political actors as yet don't have a culture of full disclosure of where they get the money. So it is possible that the Nigerians, or FDC for that matter, must have got money from some source,
Or even from the 7.
or even from Seven. Now, if somebody says you got from Seven, that person who is saying so ought to bring prima facie evidence, so that you put the other person now to stick to proof to deny. But without that prima facie evidence, I think it is unfair to continue making that.
Okay.
Now,
Thank
for
As I was
now,
saying, thank you.
so the events of the last 1 week.
Oh, this week?
No, I said last 1 week. Clearly, there is an internal failure to manage disagreement. What is making it difficult for them to manage these internal differences, whether about money or election calendar or what? Personally, and I have said this before, I've written about it. I said 3 years ago when they elected Amuriat as president, at that time I used the phrase, Amuriat speaks one language like a cow. Not a cow that is more. In my view, I say Amuriat wasn't the person FDC needed at that time to be the president of FDC. The task is way above him. In our country here, if you can't speak 2, 3, 4 languages that cut across the big linguistic subdivision of Uganda.
Well, you meant it literally,
Yes,
not figuratively.
yes. It will be difficult for you to drive a national conversation in the politics. That's what I said at that time. I still hold that today.
Or first pause a bit, I'll come back to you. Because for now, I want you to be on at my Paris side.
Yes.
So
Now
you are spoiling my show.
The violence in Najanankum, this is not the first time. You remember how they chased great Olive Kamya when she was crying over the election to replace Chigundu. You remember?
Everyone said hit on the head.
Yes.
Snake.
You remember what drove the 5 years of Muntu as president of FDC? This allegation of Muntu being not, they even said he was not even authentic Ugandan. They said he was a Rwandese, you remember? But Muntu being the person he is, from the military discipline, but also his natural persona, kept it cool. Eventually, you saw FDC losing about 17 sitting members of parliament in the last parliament, who did not even bother to go for the FDC ticket in 2020-2021 election. One of them, my brother here. And for that group, they have chosen not to wash the dirty linen in public. Now, we have remained, FDC has remained...
we are doing,
FDC
the
has...
dirty person is the one we are washing now.
FDC leadership now has remained with the white one who want to do rough shoulders.
Oh,
Amriyat,
I need you to pause.
Nandara, Ssemuju, Elias Lukwago, Francis Mwijushe, Bessie J. So there is now nobody to restrain them, and that's why it has come. So let them swim in the sewer.
Afukide has had difficulties to defend Nanda,
No,
but he has been to attack FDC.
No, I don't have to defend Nanda. I've just said you made an accusation against Nanda. I think it is appropriate that you bring a prima facie evidence. Just bring a prima facie evidence.
You are the panelist.
Especially about the billions you received from Seven. At least that one.
Okay.
You owe it to the public. Bring prima facie evidence.
Ask the public if it's not
on microphone now. I've switched off Ssemuju's and O's. Gives you commendation, saying you're a giraffe that's so ahead. And me, I could say maybe you jumped ship. Should have been now
He was pushed out.
Ssemuju to calm down and so on. But could you have predicted
But
what's happening?
when you walked in, you saw him patting Ssemuju on the shoulder. Calm down.
Could you have predicted?
Oscar, first of all,
don't say
I
bad
had-
things about us.
I had requested you that I start from this show, and you said no, you must come.
You gave birth to this party.
Yes, and that's why.
So we must hold you accountable.
When I remember the labor pains, it is the pains me more today than yesterday. So I'll start from the vulgarities, because that's not the reach I play in. In any case, there are no deficits there. They are actually oversubscribed.
You listen to this tweet says from Noma. It says, good morning, OSM. Thanks for the show. When FDC is the topic at GAD, exudes class in analysis. He's unequivocal. It is his best day at work.
Job made easy.
Yeah, so I'll go to the real issues. And one of them is political party funding. In 2005, when we opened up to a multi-party dispensation, we did agree that we need to help political parties to fund their activities. However, we enacted the law, the Political Parties and the Other Organizations Act. And at that time, we thought political parties were public institutions. So the sources of their funds must, one, be regulated by the law, and indeed we regulate political party funding. We put provisions in the law which requires that each political party should disclose the source of funding. It's by law. So it is not a discretion that, in Uganda there is a culture of not disclosing. That would be breaching the law. And the reason you don't need to be this great scientist to find. You see, you will have criminal gangs and criminal institutions funding political parties, and the law sought to block that. You can't, for example, get funding from the ADF and your political party. The law forbids it. So, including campaign finance, and having restricted the political party funding, Oscar, we did agree that the state should provide the funds to the political parties. The debates we had at that time was, okay, what sort of parties? Because you might have 1 million parties and the state can't afford it. So we said, at least show that you're a functional political party, you have participated in elections, you've won seats in parliament. Then whatever we give you, it will be proportional to your representation in parliament. So every year, we appropriate money for political parties. But the law also requires these political parties to disclose fully the source of any other funding. And they're supposed to fight it with the Electoral Commission. So I got part up when Ssemuju and I think it was one of Ssemuju and one of Nganda were in a talk show. And the moderator asked the Secretary General, he said, no, I can't tell you where we got the money from. I said, what's this going on? He said, no, I can't. He said, okay, how much? He said, no, that I can't tell you. I'm like, is this the pattern you founded? Because we had aspirations, we had norms, we had values. It was about transparency. The law and even good manners requires public institutions to disclose funding. There's nothing private about this point.
But I think at that time he was in a heated mood because that is in the week that the trouble started.
No, but even at the presser, they asked the very question about where did you get the money, and that one they owe Ugandans an explanation. They owe their party members an explanation by law, not not by being magnanimous. The law requires them, and for us who are in a position where we enact laws and say, okay, we need to give these political parties funding, but then they are receiving funds and they cannot account for the money, neither sources where got that money, they put us in a very difficult position. Because a party president and a party secretary general cannot tell people, I will not tell you how much money we used, where we got it from. No, this should be public knowledge, by law, by law. So, I think there, the current administration of the FDC fell short. In any case, how do you ask the NRM to account for funds? Because there's been this, NRM uses state resources and so on, and you're not an example. You say, for us, we are using these resources, we've generated them like this. Because that's what the law requires. Assuming you have to get in the government, Oscar, today, you have a problem. There's this huge elephant in the room called classified. And there's been a huge debate about classified expenditure. But if you can't account for this small one, if you're in the government, now you have the so-called classified, how will you behave? So I think the FDC, because I don't want to go into those, should go back to the basics. Because that's what, when we are founding this party, that's what we thought, that this country should be managed differently. And it's a bit of, and we don't, some of us who left, we don't wish FDC bad. Actually, wish them well. Because they are our baby. We made our contribution. If I go in my accounts and see how of my own money, which is on that party headquarters, that property, my own money is in millions of shillings and many others. We really invested, and we can't say where we invested. We like the party to go in turmoil. I think they should check themselves and so on. Secondly, if you are going to okay, there's an African proverb, and that's why I disagree with Ibrahim. It says, a hyena that wants to eat its children blames it to look like a ghost. A hyena that wants to eat its children blames it to the children that they look like a ghost. Instead, knowing that it's actually greed. The political parties, especially opposition, should examine their own weaknesses. Instead of every other time, it doesn't make sense. There are weaknesses within the political parties, and they should address them. After you've addressed them, then you can now start blaming others and so on. Because it becomes a song. Today, what we are hearing, and some of us, I'm sure, and you've said it, there are things you know, but you cannot even say it on radio. There are things I know, especially that particular transactions and so on. I can never say it. Privately, you can have a chat, but you can't. It smells, and it smells very badly. And
That's transaction.
It smells and smells very bad. The public has just seen just an eighth of it. The rest you've not. Just ask anybody who has a little bit of what went on. There are even other names that are not coming up, those who leaked and so on, blah, blah. But anyway, that's for another matter. So to me,
Some people in
Madam
NRM
Chair,
told me.
yeah. Well, I think if others could be, others could be saying it opportunistic. Others could be saying it
To corroborate the information.
yeah, but this whole thing smells badly, and it has to be addressed by the parties. Unfortunately, what I foresee, for us lawyers say you may reach a point of irretrievable breakdown. That, like, we reached one ourselves with our colleagues then, now seems that today that point has or is about.
No, it was passed.
It came a little bit too late. By the way, to me, I think I'm surprised that it took all this long. It should have come yesterday, not today. Yeah, but to me, it has either come or it's about to come. Because at the end of the day, why I was saying I want to look at real issues, and some Honorable Prime Minister is talking about now, there is a group which is saying elections are taking place. And I'm sure Ugandans know. Because you see, at political party elections, everybody should know whether they are taking place. The press should have picked it, there will be pictures and so on. You can't say elections took place when either the country is saying there's nothing taking place. Yeah, he will tell us whether he's seeing any elections taking place. But then there's a group saying that this process is on. Then there's another group saying there's no process going on. So at the end of the day, you are going to reach the end of the road and say, well, these are the new leaders. Whether this other group is okay, new leaders, now we subscribe to the new leadership, I doubt.
Don't conclude yet. Let me go to Joseph Sabit, who is the journalist here. So, same question as Abdul. Take up one of these questions in your submission. But was all this predictable? Do you see, as Ssemuju says, that Nganda wanted to be a superpower all on his own? He has a sidekick. The sidekick does not match the office. And even today, the one I've allotted the appointment of defending Nganda has also said the party president. He said bad words, I will not repeat, only
More.
That's the party president. The whole bunch of them.
There are more.
Oscar, I think that what we are witnessing is historical associated with the FDC. First, it was between Kanovesiji and Ndinomuntu. Very fierce punches flew.
Money and malls.
Money and malls is part of actually the FDC culture. So every time they are going into an election, you will hear that conversation. First, Ndinomuntu was the mall when the waves favored Kanovesiji. Now, the contest between the Honorable Nganda and Ndinomuntu was even worse. They called the Honorable Katuntus who were associated with Muntu malls. They called them names and everything. So for me, it's part of the FDC script. Every time they're going to an election, it will happen.
It is their DNA.
It is their DNA. The difference is that usually there was a General Muntu and the Abdu Katuntus who preferred to keep quiet and deal with the issues in the internal structures. Now it is
which is what Ogo was saying.
The Honorable Ssemuju and the Honorable Nganda. So if we don't get breaks in between the two of them, they'll go all the way. But it's nothing new. It's part of the FDC DNA. Remember the contest between General Muntu and Honorable Nganda when Major Rubaramira Ruranga was leading the Nganda campaign. All the words that flew and everything that was said. Then eventually, a few years later, Major Rubaramira Ruranga was back where he belonged, to the yellow bus. I also find it funny that actually we sit down here to discuss President Museveni's involvement with politicians. I have said that there's no politician worth his name in this country or town who has not interacted with the president or his agents. It would be a fallacy to actually sit down here and say that, look, it is Museveni. The untouchability of General Museveni only exists in media platforms, on radios, in TVs and things like that. But directly or indirectly, through him directly or through his agents or through the OOs, he has interacted with all leaders worth their name in this town. So the question is that there's a group, I think, in the opposition that in my view want to position themselves as Puritans. They are holier than thou. they are better than the rest. Therefore, they are the ones who understand the struggle. They don't associate with Gen 7. But in the grand scheme of things, I'll tell you, as a journalist, as a practicing journalist, I was quite naive. I would look at these things from the surface, but until one day the Honorable Norbert Mao told me a story about how he was declared a Member of Parliament for Bulyomu municipality for the first time in 1996. He says that the late Area Katagaya, may he so rest in peace, had ordered that this rebel collaborator should never enter Parliament. And he says the person who made the phone call that led to his declaration was General Salim Saleh. That was way back in 1996. So while people are shocked that Honorable Norbert Mao is now
receiving notes,
he has been working with General Saleh since 1996. Things have come about people, threats to withdraw political support in this city, and for me these things don't shock me. So I think the issue is that the manner in which the crisis in the FDC is being handled needs to be done better. There are internal mechanisms through which they can sit. I don't want to see Ambassador Birigwa risking his manhood on wires and being pushed through.
Go easy. This is the morning show.
No, but there's still and the other thing that we need to examine, I think that
yes, go on.
Oscar, my views about politics in this country is that I keep talking about the concept of the Grand Ayatollah. There are people who are the mergers, bigger than the structures, bigger than the political entities, and power rotates around them. And it's been a while since
we have the Grand Ayatollah.
No, it's been a while. It's been a while since the Grand Ayatollah of FDC took leave of the leadership of the party. He left and never left. If you go to Katonga, the organizational capacity there at the level of meetings is actually bigger than Najanankumbi now. So you'll find Honorable Ssemuju is more frequent at Katonga than at the party headquarters. Even Honorable Amuriat and Nandala, who are crying now, are original part of the Katonga boys. When General Muntu was at Najanankumbi, they counted him, they called him names, they said everything. Now,
no, but I need to correct you. To be fair to Nandala, he's never left Najanankumbi. To be fair to him, Amuriat was purely Katonga. Pure 100%.
No.
Yeah, but Nandala,
but he was a
frequent. Yes, he would go there.
Yes,
but he was also part of the Najanankumbi.
No,
but Amuriat had already literally left for
no, there's nothing that, no decision that was taken at Katonga that Nandala was not there.
In our meeting, National Council in Well, Nandala, who was deputized by Jack Sabit as Treasurer General, both of them resigned because they didn't want to work with the wanted.
That's not a problem.
So they left Najanankumbi. You can't say they were there. Maybe they were just in the middle, but Najanankumbi were not with them.
Honorable Abdu, all the decisions that were taken at Katonga, Honorable Nandala was part of them until recently. Even when they wanted to take out Muntu, this time Honorable Ssemuju was not on their side. They went and picked a man who had no political clout, who had not exhibited any leadership credentials. Put him in, and that's Honorable Engineer Patrick Kamara. He had been MP, he had chaired COSASE, and you can go back and examine his performance. There, Honorable Abdu chaired COSASE. We have examined his performance. Honorable Ssemuju chaired COSASE. We know what they have done. I was a parliamentary reporter. I don't have anything remarkable to say about the Honorable Patrick Kamara Toboy in terms of extraordinary leadership skills. They picked him, they put him in a suit. Dr. Vesige and friends carried him around the country and made him FDC president. I think their assumption was that once he sits at Najanankumbi, then they would make the calls from Katonga and they will obey. I want to believe that the Honorable Amuriat has realized that he has passed political teenage. He can no longer take orders. He's a man of his own. But also in the battle to replace from Kanovesije, from Katonga. Yes, but also there's a struggle to replace Kanovesije as the Grand Ayatollah in the FDC. And for me, I think that the strongest person who has emerged in that struggle is the Honorable Nathan Nandala Mafabi, because of his financial capabilities, because of his ruthlessness, his business acumen, and they will tell you a story of how Honorable Mbarak Munyago had to kneel before him in Chambogo to get a party ticket to contest in the last election. And yesterday I appeared with one of the FDC members.
Before who?
Before Honorable Nandala and Patrick Kamara Toboy to sign to be able to run as an FDC candidate in the last election. He went on his knees. And yesterday we appeared with one of the FDC members, Yensonga Lwaki, on another show, and he said it is even if I can lie down before Nandala because I know how powerful he is. So the Honorable Nandala has emerged as the likely successor to the Grand Ayatollah, and that is why what the Honorable Ssemuju have to contend with. And I can tell you that even the question of elections, even the question of elections is not a new scenario in the FDC. When the Honorable Ali Salaso was Secretary General, the camp led by Honorable Nandala Mafabi, actually, by that time I think Honorable Ssemuju was in his campaign team. They discredited the register. They questioned it and asked questions about it in Ambole and a lot of, you know.
When Ssemuju was
you supported him that time.
When Ssemuju was in Camp Montu, he had a problem as well.
No, original Ssemuju was in Camp Nandala, by the way, in the first contest between. Yes, where General Muntu won.
Yes, with Muriat, he was with Muntu.
Muntu.
And he faced fire.
But the same thing, they discredited the register and accused Honorable Ali Salas of actually inflating the voters register and actually smuggling in proxy votes. So it's history. It's part of the heritage of the FDC.
Yeah. We stop for a quick break. After the break, we'll have you, Nafi. But there's sad news.
Ensonga ndowooza muzuulya zitambula bulungi era nga bwino yeeyongera okuvaayo. Abasajja bagamba amannya gokka agakafuluma agateekebwawo Mwami Museveni be yawa mbu ensimbi balwane Kyagulanyi Ssentamu Robert Bobi Wine, amannya agakwogerwako matono. Waliyo abantu bangi abanene abatannaba kwogerwa amannya gaabwe nga bonna baweebwadde omudidi omunene omutente balwane Kyagulanyi Ssentamu Robert Bobi Wine okuba nti notajjaako Mwami Museveni. Era nti bano baweereddwa ensimbi nnyingi nnyo butitimbe na butitimbe naye tebannaba kwogerwa bwogerwa mbu ekiseera kyabwe ekyokuwogera tekinnaba kutuuka naye nga bonna omulamwa gumu gwa kulwana kulaba nti Kyagulanyi Ssentamu Robert Bobi Wine amalibwamu amaanyi akendeezebwa amaanyi addizibwa emabega asalibwa speed otyo speed bagisala adde bamuzza ekyennyumanyuma mu byakola. Bigambo bikyayongera okuvaayo era nga buli mwaka ayongera okuleeta obujulizi bwe n'okukakasa. Babuuliza Ssemuju Nganda nti balina obujulizi obukakasa nti ddala Mwami Museveni yawa abantu bano ensimbi. Agambye tebamwogeza bintu kubanga yalina bwino munene era bw'anaamwogera abantu bano tebajja kuddamu nakutambula ku nguudo za mu Kampala wano kubanga bajja kuswala bajja kwemuka bwino gwalina munene nti so tukireke kweri eddala kwa kitadde bo bagende nga beesootinga mpola mpola paka lwe banadda mu layini nti naye ebiswaza bingi abantu bangi ne bobadde tosuubira ne bobadde otiisa amaaso nti oyo bannanga tasobola kukikola ng'ekintu baakikola dda. Awulidde agambye nti n'ensimbi zino baazikwata ne zibabulako ne babula ne baziteeka ne basalawo batwalireko ne Dr. Kano Kizza Besigye naye ne bamuwaako omutetemo omutidi ogugwe. Ebintu bikulu ebintu byasobaasobana dda. Waliwo akwatira ensimbi n'azitwalira ne Besigye naye n'amuwaako ku nsimbi z'ekibi awo embeera ebeegayeggaye. Kati nno omulamu oguliwo gwakulaba nti Mwami Museveni tava mu ntebe nti ajja kukola buli kimu buli kyasoboka okulaba nti tava mu ntebe. Ate bino tebibaddeewo nnyo emabega eri akuba badde amanyi abantu abasinga balina bulungi mu ngalo naye okuva Kyagulanyi Ssentamu Robert lwe yajja yaleetawo ekyenjawulo. Mwami Museveni nayeyabaako kye yeekengera n'agamba nina okuzannya omuzannyo ogwo ate mu ngeri y'ekiyeekera ekisajja kikulu ndabe nti nno ate tebampita kulitalaba. Gw'omuzannyo aguzannye bulungi era agukola naye ate n'abaana baagala okumujja mu ntebe nabo balina engeri gye baguzannyamu mu labadaba style okulaba nti ne bamujja mu ntebe. Nze naawe tuteekewo maaso tuteekewo abiri tulabe ki ekinaaba kiddako naye byo ebintu si byangu. Mwami Museveni amagezi aggyeyo n'ag'omu buto gonna agatadde wamu agamba nina okukuma entebe yange temujja kuzannyira ku ntebe tokwata ku ntebe. Gano amagezi gayise bagayita tokwata ku ntebe jjako engalo ku ntebe yange ate nga mumalirivu nnyo okulaba nga entebe yagikuuma so si kugizannyiramu buzannyizi mumuveeri mbu nno mugitwale. Kati gwe Munnayuganda oba olina kumanya nti embeera kati nzibu nnyo era ng'olina kwebereramu. Kyagulanyi kye yagamba nti mujja kukiwulira ebigambo si byangu naye mujja kukiwulira. Kale mbyebyo nno mbebaza nnyo mwenna abaddeko era abaliko mwebale kubaako mwebale kulaba mwebale kutwagala mwebale kutwagira mwebale obuwabuzi obw'enjawulo bwe mutuwa tusiima nnyo tusiimira ddala. Dunda Namugereka gwe nsaba ye abanyongerera bampeera ebingi ebisobasobanye ng'obugulu bw'eggongolo mwebale kubangako mwebale nnyo 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 mwebalire ddala nange mbaagala nnyo. Ngenze Mukama abankuumire.